I'm gonna need for people to stop giving James Talarico credit where it's not due. Let me set the table a little bit for this video. I don't trust either of them. There is no anti-genocide candidate in this race. But I'm seeing people really believe that he is anti-genocide, and they're fucking arguing with me about it. I'm sorry, where are you getting that info? Is it because he keeps rehearsing that scripted anecdote about the theologian? Because there's actually no evidence for it. We can argue on which one of them would be better for domestic policy. And sure, we can agree that either of them would be better domestically than that googly-eyed monstrosity, corrupt fucking criminal Ken Paxton. The bar, of course, to clear being better than a Republican on domestic policy is on the fucking floor. But we're not going to pretend that their foreign policy, which foreign policy is also domestic policy, isn't garbage. Because Americans at this point should understand a little bit more about the imperial boomerang and how that shit does come home. Both of them support the genocidal Israeli regime. Let's be clear about that fact. And own it. Don't try to run away from it. Don't try to skirt it. Own it. Instead of coping and trying to run cover for them for their positions, you should be owning it, acknowledging it, telling them it's an unacceptable position, and pushing them to move. People are giving him a pass. They're trying to make... I was arguing with someone on Twitter about this last night. They were acting like he was pro-Palestine, like he was against the genocide. Have you listened to any of his interviews? No, the fuck he's not. His position on the Israeli regime is the exact same as Crockett's. And it goes a little something like this bullshit. What's happening to Palestine is so sad. Insert Christian quote about how God said the children of Gaza were yelling at me. Okay, cool story, bro. Let's talk about that funding. Actually, when it comes to them lying about Gaza and their position on Israel, I find his to be more offensive because as a Christian, I really am disgusted by the way that he uses his Christianity to tap dance around the fact that he actually does support this genocidal regime. They both say, oh, we care so much about Palestinian human rights and they should stop the carnage and Netanyahu, while simultaneously defending us, giving them defensive weapons. That's not a thing. They're not defending themselves from anything. They are the occupying power. They're the power wiping the Palestinians out of existence. They're the power crushing them. Therefore, you are not defending yourself from anything. So the defensive weapon thing is just a lie. It's just a Zionist talking point. It is just a pro-genocide talking point that sounds a little bit more flowery and a little nicer than the Republican position. They probably came up with it at fucking J Street or one of the other liberal Zionist think tanks. But in practice, it's the same thing. The position on Israel should be zero funding. Zero funding. None. Nada. Zilch. Because as I've said many times, just not accepting AIPAC money is not enough. The whole point of saying reject AIPAC money is because of the fact that so many of our lawmakers are on the take. They're corrupt as fuck and they vote based on whoever's giving them money. In this case specifically, if somebody is not taking AIPAC money, but they're still taking money from a different Israeli lobby, AIPAC is only one. We use them because they're the most visible, they're the most insane, they're the most powerful, but there are many Israeli lobbies that give money to political candidates to influence them. So when we say don't take AIPAC money, we mean no Israeli lobby money, none. But also, it is not enough just to say I don't take their money. If you still are going to vote the same way that a Zionist who takes money from them is going to vote, then you're just doing the genocidal work for free.
Not taking money from AIPAC in this campaign.
Good. But
seeing what's happening in Gaza makes me sick to my stomach as a teacher, as a Christian, as a human being. And our country's role in that slaughter makes me feel complicit in it.
You are.
All Americans should feel that.
We are.
There was a theologian who said, I screamed at God for the starving children until I realized the starving children was God screaming.
Yeah, we know. Hey, James, my brother in Christ. This you? Yeah, this is his website. Look at this horseshit. I've highlighted all of the relevant portions of this horseshit statement so that you are able to see what they really mean and the code words that they're using. Take urgent action for peace in the Middle East. First of all, let's be so fucking for real. Right now, Israel is the reason why there's no peace in the Middle East. Full stop. It's not Iran. It's not fucking Lebanon. It's not Syria. It's not Iraq. They are the ones who are terrorizing all of their fucking neighbors, bro. We, the United States, had a fucking deal with Iran. The JCPOA, remember that Donald Trump came into office and ripped up at the behest of the Israeli lobby, the Adelsons, and Netanyahu. One of the many points of the Iran deal was not just to stop them from enriching uranium. It was also to normalize relations with the adversaries, as he says. Israel is the one that keeps bombing everyone around them. So even that framing is fucking horseshit, okay? That's number one. Stopping offensive weapons. all weapons being used by Israel are offensive to the Netanyahu government. Again, they all do this. Bernie Sanders does it too. And the reason why they do this is because they want to make it seem like a Netanyahu problem instead of an Israel problem. This is not just a Netanyahu problem. Netanyahu very much has the support of all of the Israelis. All of them, even the so-called leftists and liberals within Israeli society, support the genocide and support his decisions around it. You don't see any dissent. You don't see anybody in positions of power in the Israeli regime being like, Netanyahu is out of control and we condemn the settlements and we condemn the genocide in Gaza. No, they all support what he's doing. So to say the Netanyahu government is an obfuscation to make it seem like, oh, it's all him, so once he's gone, it's kind of like what liberals do in America and what like the media and the establishment does in this country where they go, oh, once Trump is gone, everything's going to go back to normal and everything's going to be fine. No. Trump is a manifestation of American culture. And the same thing goes for Netanyahu. Defensive systems like Iron Dome, get the fuck out. No, I don't care how long they've tried to brainwash people into thinking this is something that we should be paying for. Absolutely not. Pay for your own fucking defense. I don't want to support Iron Dome. I don't think it's defensive. If anything, they use Iron Dome as an excuse to terrorize their neighbors, knowing that Iron Dome is there to protect them so people can't fight back against their tyranny. Iron Dome is essentially a shield for them from accountability. Moving on to agreements that American funds won't be used to harm civilians. Oh, that's funny. You mean kind of like how the Biden administration didn't care that they were breaking the Leahy law? You mean how people came, human rights organizations, to the Biden administration multiple times and said they are violating international law. They are violating the Leahy law. And you know what Biden's administration did? You know what Tony Blinken did with that report? He went, oh, that's a nice report. Anyway, so just because you claim they need to abide by the agreement doesn't mean shit if you don't actually enforce it. Remember how they all repeatedly said over and over again that they were working tirelessly for a ceasefire, and then it came out last year? What we on the left really knew and suspected, but this confirmed it, that Biden never pressured Israel for a ceasefire. Not once, despite our enormous leverage. The Biden administration allowed Israel unprecedented leeway to carry out its military offensive, despite the enormous death and devastation it inflicted on Gaza. Former Israeli ambassador Michael Herzog made a startling admission about Biden's support. God did the state of Israel a favor that Biden was the president during this period. We fought in Gaza for over a year and the administration never came to us and said, ceasefire now. It never did. And that's not to be taken for granted. You're all going to hell. And of course, the two-state solution routine, as we've talked about many times. Not only is that incredibly unrealistic, not only is it something that Israel has for decades said, we're not doing that. Netanyahu has bragged about blocking a two-state solution for years. They're really talking about policy in Gaza like it's the fucking 90s. The two-state solution was always bullshit. It was always a PR talking point, specifically for American politicians to tell the American population so that we all feel better. Guys, look, it's going to be nice and fair. They're going to live side by side in a two-state solution. Don't worry about anything else. It's bullshit, and you should side-eye anyone saying it. If you really want to know how the Israelis actually feel about a two-state solution, just go listen to Israeli media. Go listen to Netanyahu speak. If you are not talking in the terms of where we actually are in real life, which is that the Israelis have taken even more, they now have 57% of Gaza that they put behind the red line, and they're talking about building new settlements in Gaza, that they're currently annexing the occupied West Bank. If you are not talking and starting from those realistic terms, you're not fucking serious. Texas not only has anti-BDS laws up the wazoo, they will literally deny you federal contracts or fire you from state positions if you don't go along with the Israeli regime's line. They also spend tons of federal taxpayer money from Texas on the Israeli regime. This is how much just Texas pays to Israel. And these are all the things that it could be going to. This is a very useful chart, and they have one for every state at notmytaxdollars.org. People should go look at it and see how much your state is taking from you to give to Israel. So let's be very accurate and very clear about who both of these candidates are. I find both of their stances on Gaza and the Israeli regime completely unacceptable. It is more of the same neoliberal Zionist policy that the Biden administration had. It is the same vicious pro-genocide policy with nicer words. It's literally this meme. Both Talarico and Crockett both support the continued genocidal policy toward the Palestinians. Just add Talarico's little theologian anecdote on the side of this. They're just using nicer, sweeter, more flowery language the way that the Democrats always do as they're dropping the same bombs. And yes, it was like literally less than a month ago that Jasmine Crockett voted to not only empower Trump's agenda further by giving more money to Marco Rubio in the lunatic Secretary of State's office, but also the continuation of funding for Israel's genocide. But people need to understand that that's probably how he would have voted too. You should call them both out, but then you should call them both out. She shouldn't be getting any more smoke on her position on Israel than he does when he supports the same shit. Because having that literal specific double standard is giving anti-black, is giving misogynoir, is giving she's my problem, not the policy. And I know that liberals and blue MAGA love to throw that term around for any criticism of Jasmine Crockett. Trust me, I know. The blue MAGA libs were doing it to me for like 3 weeks straight. But in this case, there's actually merit to it because there is no difference between their policies. So why is he getting a pass? What should actually be happening is instead of people on her side making excuses for her and people on his side making excuses for him, all of you should be demanding better of them. All of you should be telling them both of their positions are totally unacceptable. And if they want your vote, they need to change their policies. One of these days, liberal voters are going to have to start telling their politicians to come to them on policy instead of the other way around. Because for me personally, I'm not voting for fucking any candidate that doesn't pledge to stop spending money to Israel full stop. And I will demand that any candidate that I support running for federal office have that position. And you should too.